Have you ever woken from a dream so clear it felt more solid than the world around you? Stay with me, because what comes next will make you doubt how random life really is. The alarm rang through Liana Brooks's penthouse at exactly 5:30 a.m., but she had already been awake for nearly 20 minutes, staring at the ceiling of her bedroom. Snow tapped softly against the tall windows of her Upper East Side home, forming delicate shapes that shifted with every breath of wind. The dream stayed with her like mist that would not lift, no matter how hard she tried to explain it away. In the dream, she had been sitting in a small cafe she had never seen before. It was nothing like the clean, cold places she usually visited. This one felt warm and alive. Uneven chairs, brick walls, little details that made it feel real. Her designer would have called it cozy and charming. But none of that mattered compared to the woman behind the counter. Liana pressed her fingers to her temples, trying to clear the picture. The woman had dark hair tied back simply, showing a smooth neck and calm posture. And her eyes. Those eyes looked like they carried stories, pain, and strength all at once. When she handed Liana the coffee, their fingers touched for a second. The feeling rushed through her like a sudden spark, so strong it pulled her out of sleep. Stupid, she whispered, pushing off her soft sheets. At 42, Liana Brooks did not believe in signs or fate. She trusted numbers, planning, and hard choices. She had built Brooks Holdings from a small gift into a massive company using reason, not dreams. The bathroom floor felt cold as she walked in. Her face in the mirror looked the same as always. Sharp features. Clear green eyes. Blonde hair that took more care than most people could afford. But today, something was different. There was a softness there she had not seen since the day they buried Daniel 3 years ago. Daniel, her husband, would have smiled at her right now. Sometimes, he used to say, life gives us what we need when we stop running from it. But Daniel was gone, taken too soon, leaving her with a company to lead and feelings she kept locked away. Steam covered the mirror as the shower warmed the room. As water ran over her shoulders, she tried to think about work. The Orion Plaza deal needed her signature. A city meeting at 2. Dinner with foreign investors. Her life ran like a perfect machine. Still, the woman from the dream kept slipping into her thoughts like a soft error in a flawless system. By 7, Liana wore her usual shield. A dark gray designer suit and heels that sounded sharp against stone floors. Her driver, Cole, waited outside with the car ready. "Good morning, Ms. Brooks," he said. "Roads are clear, even with the snow." "Thank you," she replied, already opening her tablet. Dozens of messages waited. Business never slept, and neither did she. The snowy streets of Manhattan usually relaxed her. She liked watching the city wake. Trucks unloading. People gripping coffee like it kept them standing. Shops lifting their doors to start another day. But today, every cafe they passed made her chest tighten. Brooks Holdings filled the top floors of a shining building in Midtown. She chose it for its place near everything important. Money. Media. Power. The lobby was full of stone, art, and quiet wealth. There was a coffee bar there too, but she had never noticed it much before. As the elevator dropped to the lobby, her heart began to race for no clear reason. "Floor 45, asked Henry, the elevator operator. "Actually," she said, surprising even herself, "I'll stop at the cafe first." He blinked. She never changed her routine. "Of course, ma'am." The cafe sat in a bright corner of the lobby, glass walls giving it privacy without closing it off. Sunlight cut clean shapes across the floor. Business people stood in line, half awake, waiting for caffeine. Liana walked forward. Each step sounded louder than it should. She saw the barista from behind. Dark hair tied back. Just like the dream. The woman reached up for a cup, moving slowly, like her body was tired but still kind. When she turned around, everything stopped. It was her. The same face from the dream. Now real. Standing only a few feet away. The same brown eyes. The same calm strength. Liana did not remember picking up a cup, but it was in her hand, shaking slightly. Her world tipped as dream and life crashed into each other. The name tag said, Maya. Ma'am, Maya said gently, are you okay? Liana tried to speak. Nothing came. She had faced rooms full of powerful people without fear. But now she could barely breathe. She whispered. I think I've been trying to find you. Maybe life likes to joke. Or maybe it just gets tired of waiting for us to listen. Maya had served hundreds of people in her first few weeks here. None had ever looked at her like this. The tall blonde woman stood frozen, expensive clothes, perfect posture, hands shaking just enough to notice. But it was her eyes that caught Maya's attention. Green eyes filled with surprise, recognition, and something that looked a lot like peace. I think I've been trying to find you, the woman whispered, and Evelyn felt her own world tilt just a little. I'm sorry. Evelyn said, forcing a polite smile that didn't quite hold. From what she knew, rich customers either looked through her like glass or treated her like part of the counter. They did not stare at her like they had just seen something impossible. The woman, whose badge would later say Liana Brooks, CEO, though Evelyn didn't need to read it to know she was important, seemed to pull herself together. Color returned to her face. Her shoulders squared, like someone putting their shield back on. I'm sorry, Liana said, now calm and controlled. I thought you were someone else. Could I get a medium coffee, black? But her eyes never left Evelyn. And without meaning to, Evelyn studied her too. There was something oddly familiar about this woman, even though Evelyn was sure they had never met. She would have remembered someone like her. The kind of person who filled a room just by standing in it. Sure, Evelyn said, turning to the machine. Her hands moved on their own, but her thoughts raced. That first reaction had been too real. Too raw. You couldn't fake that. So what had Liana recognized? Evelyn felt her watching. Those green eyes followed every move, and it made her skin buzz in a way that was strange and unsettling. Are you new here? Liana asked, trying to sound casual. 3 weeks, Evelyn said, still facing away. Still learning everyone's usual orders. And what brought you to New York? Liana asked. The question sounded simple, but it felt heavier than small talk. Evelyn turned, cup in hand, and met that intense gaze again. A fresh start, she said, handing over the coffee. Their fingers touched. Just for a second. A sharp rush shot through Evelyn, and she pulled back quickly. Liana felt it too. Evelyn saw it in her eyes, in the slight catch of her breath. For a moment, they just stood there. The noise of the cafe faded into something far away. That'll be $4.50, Evelyn said, her voice a little unsteady. Liana handed her a 20. Keep the change. It was a good tip, but not unusual here. What was unusual was how she didn't leave right away. I'm Liana, she said suddenly, like the words escaped before she could stop them. Evelyn. The name felt heavier than it should have. Like it meant something. Evelyn, Liana repeated, softly, like she was testing how it sounded. I have a feeling we'll be seeing each other again. It wasn't a question. It was said like a fact. Then she turned and walked toward the elevators. Her heels tapped against the marble in a steady beat that matched Evelyn's racing heart. Evelyn watched her go. The straight posture. The way people moved aside without thinking. Power followed her like a shadow. When the elevator doors closed, Evelyn realized she had been holding her breath. Earth to Evelyn, Miguel called from behind the machine. You okay? You look like you saw a ghost. Something like that, Evelyn said, still staring at the doors. The rest of the morning blurred together. Orders. Smiles. Small talk. But her mind kept going back to those few minutes with Liana Brooks. There had been something in the air between them. Something she couldn't explain. She had felt something like it once before, long ago, with her ex-husband. But this was stronger. Like knowing someone before you ever really meet them. On her break, Evelyn searched Liana Brooks on her phone. The results were endless. Business articles. Magazine covers. Public events. Liana Brooks. CEO of Brooks Holdings. Worth over $1 billion. Widow of Daniel Brooks. No children. Famous for charity and sharp business deals. Every photo showed her calm. Perfect. In control. But none showed what Evelyn had seen that morning. Loneliness. A quiet need for something money couldn't fix. Her phone buzzed. Babysitter, Sophie has a slight fever. Nothing serious, just letting you know. Reality came rushing back. Sophie, her 7-year-old, was the reason for everything. The move. The long hours. The careful spending. Evelyn couldn't afford distractions. Not even beautiful, confusing ones with powerful women. Still, as she walked back to work, part of her hoped Liana would come back. Because despite logic, despite the distance between their worlds, something had woken up inside her. Something that felt like maybe. The afternoon rush came and went. Evelyn kept glancing at the elevators. Blonde hair. Dark suit. She didn't appear that day. But Evelyn knew she would. Some connections don't stay quiet for long. They say routine kills surprise. But sometimes routine becomes the only way to feed a feeling you're scared to admit. Liana stood in her bathroom at 5:15 a.m., 15 minutes earlier than usual, studying her reflection like someone about to face a fight. But this wasn't business. This was coffee with a woman whose name she had whispered in her sleep. 3 days had passed since they met. And every morning since, Liana had gone to that cafe. She told herself it was about the building. About being visible. About good coffee. But the truth sat heavy in her chest. She was starting to fall for someone she barely knew. The thought should have scared her. Liana Brooks didn't fall for people. She made choices. Careful ones. And this didn't feel careful at all. David had been different. They had grown up together in a way, meeting in college and building something slowly, on trust and shared memories. What she felt with Evelyn was nothing like that. It came fast, with no warning, and didn't ask for permission. It made no sense, and that was what scared her most. Her phone buzzed with the first problem of the day. A message from her assistant about the Meridian Tower permits being delayed again. Alexandra barely looked at it. For the first time, work didn't feel like the most important thing in her life. The elevator ride down felt endless. In the shiny doors, she saw a woman who looked calm, but felt restless inside. She had chosen her clothes with care. A deep blue suit that made her eyes stand out, and a soft blouse in a pale gold shade. Not that she was trying to impress anyone, she told herself. This was just how she dressed. The cafe was crowded, full of the morning rush. Alexandra joined the line, her heart beating faster when she saw Evelyn behind the counter. Today, Evelyn wore her hair loose, and the light caught in it as she moved. She worked with easy skill, but Alexandra noticed small things. The tired shadows under her eyes. The way she stretched her back when she thought no one was watching. The usual, Ms. Reed? Evelyn asked when Alexandra reached the front. And the fact that she remembered both her face and her order made warmth spread in Alexandra's chest. Please. And it's Alexandra. Alexandra, Evelyn said, like she was trying the name out. How do you drink coffee at home? The question surprised her. It felt personal in a way that had nothing to do with coffee. I don't, really, Alexandra said. I have a machine, but I never use it. Evelyn lifted her brows. A coffee machine you don't use? That feels sad. Most things in my place are just for looks, Alexandra said, then wished she hadn't. It showed too much of how empty her perfect life really was. But Evelyn didn't judge. Her face softened instead. I get that, she said quietly, handing over the cup. Sometimes we build beautiful spaces and forget we're allowed to live in them. Their fingers touched again. This time, neither pulled away right away. It was only a few seconds, but it said more than words could. Evelyn, Alexandra said, her voice lower. Would you like to have dinner with me sometime? As soon as she said it, she wanted to take it back. She didn't do things like this. She didn't cross lines. I can't, Evelyn said gently. Her eyes showed regret, not refusal. I have a daughter. Sophie. She's 7. Evenings are for her. A daughter. The word hit Alexandra hard. Not because it changed how she felt, but because it made everything more complicated. Of course, Alexandra said, stepping back. I shouldn't have asked. But maybe coffee, Evelyn said quickly. Somewhere else. There's a place in the village that Sophie loves. They make the best hot chocolate. It sounded like another world to Alexandra. She couldn't remember the last time she'd gone somewhere casual, or somewhere meant for kids. But looking at Evelyn, seeing the hope in her face, she nodded. I'd like that. Saturday morning, Evelyn said. Around 10. Saturday at 10, Alexandra repeated, pulling out her phone. What's the address? As Evelyn told her, Alexandra noticed the long line behind her. People checking watches. The real world pushing back in. I should let you work, Alexandra said. And you probably have important CEO things, Evelyn said with a small smile that made Alexandra's heart jump. Nothing more important than this, Alexandra said, then blushed at her own words. But Evelyn smiled wider. Saturday, she said. Saturday, Alexandra answered. As she walked to the elevators, she felt lighter than she had in years. She was still Alexandra Reed, the woman who ran billion-dollar deals. But right now, she was just someone who had a coffee date with a woman who made her feel alive again. The doors closed, and in the reflection, Alexandra saw herself smiling. For the first time in 3 years. Some bridges are built with steel and glass. Others are built with courage, and the choice to step into someone else's life. Saturday came with cold air that made the city look sharp and bright. Alexandra stood outside Café Luna in Greenwich Village, checking her phone again. She was early, as always, but also nervous in a way she didn't recognize. She had changed clothes 4 times before choosing dark jeans, a soft sweater, and boots that looked simple but cost a fortune. She wanted to fit in, though she knew she probably never would. The cafe was nothing like her usual places. Uneven chairs. Local art on brick walls. A real feeling you couldn't buy or design. Through the window, she saw families with kids, couples sharing papers, students with books spread across tiny tables. It felt warm and real. The kind of place that had a heartbeat. She turned and saw Evelyn walking in with a little girl who could only be Sophie. The child had Evelyn's dark hair and serious brown eyes. But where Evelyn moved with quiet care, Sophie burst with energy. You came, Evelyn said, surprise in her voice, like she wasn't fully sure Alexandra would. I said I would, Alexandra replied. She bent down to Sophie's height. You must be Sophie. I'm Alexandra. Sophie looked her over, honest and curious. Mama says you work in a really tall building. I do. Can you see everything from up there? Almost everything. Sophie nodded. I like her, Mama. Evelyn laughed, and the sound warmed something deep in Alexandra. She's our judge of people. You passed. Inside, they found a table by the window. Sophie grabbed the best seat and started talking about everyone she saw outside. Evelyn and Alexandra tried to get used to talking like normal people, not in a rushed cafe line. This isn't your usual kind of place, is it? Evelyn asked. No, Alexandra said. But I forgot places like this even existed. What's your world like? Alexandra watched Sophie coloring on the paper mat. How could she explain her life? Planes, meetings, events where nothing felt real. A life so protected it sometimes felt distant. Lonely, she said. Evelyn's face softened. I understand that. But you have people, Alexandra said. Friends. Sophie. Being around people doesn't always mean you're not alone, Evelyn said quietly. Sometimes it makes you feel it more. Sophie looked up. Mama gets sad sometimes. She thinks I don't know, but I do. Sophie, Evelyn said gently. But Alexandra saw the truth in it. What made you move here? Alexandra asked. Evelyn glanced at Sophie, then back. Her father and I split last year. He wasn't good to us. When I finally left, I wanted a whole new start. New York felt like a place where you could become someone new. And has it worked? It's hard, Evelyn said. Everything costs more than I thought. I work 2 jobs just to pay rent. But Sophie's happy. That matters. 2 jobs. Alexandra felt a small ache in her chest. Her own loneliness had always been wrapped in comfort. What's the other job? She asked. I clean offices at night, after Sophie sleeps. Evelyn didn't sound ashamed. Just tired. Their drinks arrived. Coffee for them. Hot chocolate for Sophie. Talking felt easy after that. Sophie filled every quiet moment. Evelyn asked questions that made Alexandra open up. What was your husband like? Evelyn asked. He was kind, Alexandra said slowly. He believed in people. In me. We were a team. You still love him? Yes. But loving someone you lost isn't the same as being ready to love someone new. Their eyes met. The feeling between them grew stronger. Sophie kept talking about her class hamster, unaware of anything else. Alexandra, Evelyn said softly. My life is messy. I can't afford mistakes. Not with Sophie. I know. Do you? Because this, she said, meaning the space between them, isn't simple. Alexandra leaned closer. I stopped caring about opinions when I learned most people never risk anything for love. And is that what this is? Evelyn asked. Alexandra looked at her. Really looked. At her strength. Her care for Sophie. Her courage. I think it could be, she said quietly. If we're brave enough to try. Sometimes the riskiest invitations are the ones that feel like coming home. Monday morning felt different. Alexandra walked into the cafe with a lighter step than she'd had before Saturday. And Evelyn kept glancing at the elevator doors for reasons that had nothing to do with customers. When Alexandra reached the counter, her smile was softer. Warmer. Like they were sharing something quiet and private. Good morning, Alexandra said, and it sounded different now. Good morning. The usual. Actually, Alexandra paused, taking a breath. I was thinking, would you and Sophie like to see that view I told her about? Tonight, after your shift. Evelyn's hand stopped over the machine. Tonight? I know it's sudden. And I know you have your other job, Alexandra said, her confidence slipping just a little. But I want to show you my real world. Not the shiny version everyone else sees. The offer meant more than a view. Evelyn understood that. I'd have to bring Sophie, she said carefully. I hope you do, Alexandra replied. She's part of you. That means she's part of this. The simple way she said it made Evelyn's throat tighten. In the past, people had treated Sophie like a problem. Alexandra spoke about her like she was something to be proud of. My shift ends at 6, Evelyn said. Perfect. I'll send Marcus to pick you up. What's your address? Evelyn hesitated. Her small place in Queens was nothing like Alexandra's world. But if they were doing this, it had to be honest. She wrote it on a napkin. Alexandra didn't flinch. She just folded it and slipped it into her jacket. 6:30. 6:30. The rest of the day felt fuzzy. Evelyn made small mistakes. Miguel noticed but said nothing. At 6, she rushed for the subway, her mind full of worries about clothes, about impressions, about whether she was being foolish. Her apartment was small but neat. One room for almost everything. Sophie's drawings covered one wall. Books were stacked wherever they fit. "Mama, why are you so nervous?" Sophie asked as Evelyn changed for the third time. "I'm not nervous," Evelyn said, choosing jeans and a nice sweater. "You are. You get that wrinkle between your eyes." Evelyn smiled. "I just want tonight to be nice." "Because you like Alexandra?" "Yes. And she seems kind. And a little sad, like you sometimes." Before Evelyn could answer, someone knocked. Through the door, a man in a driver's coat waited. "Miss Parker?" "I'm Marcus. Ms. Reed sent me for you and your daughter." The car was exactly what Evelyn expected. Quiet. Shiny. Too nice. Sophie pressed her face to the window the whole way. "Have you worked for Alexandra long?" Evelyn asked. 5 years, Marcus said. "She's fair. She notices people. That matters." It did. Alexandra's building looked like a dream. Stone floors. Doormen. Soft light. The elevator ride felt long. Alexandra opened the door herself. Jeans. Silk blouse. Hair loose. She looked younger this way. "Welcome," she said. Evelyn was ready for luxury. But the view still stole her breath. The city spread below them like lights on dark water. "Wow," Sophie said. "You can see everything." "Almost everything," Alexandra said. While Sophie stared at the windows, Evelyn noticed other things. Books. Flowers. Photos. A life that felt real, not staged. "This is beautiful," Evelyn said, and she meant it. "It's too big for one person," Alexandra replied. "I bought it when David and I thought we'd start a family. After he died, I thought about selling it." She gave a small shrug. "I guess I just stayed." "Maybe it was hope," Evelyn said softly. Their eyes met, and for a second Alexandra let herself be seen. This wasn't just about a view. It was about showing her loneliness, her wishes, the parts she usually hid. "Are you hungry?" Alexandra asked. "I ordered from Sophie's favorite place." "How did you know what she likes?" Alexandra's cheeks colored. "I called the cafe and asked what kids usually order. They said this place makes the best chicken fingers." The care behind it made Evelyn's heart jump. This wasn't just attraction anymore. It felt real. They ate together, Sophie talking non-stop about the windows and the fancy napkins. And Evelyn caught herself wishing she belonged here. Not to the money or the space, but to this feeling of being welcome. It was a dangerous wish. But watching Alexandra listen to Sophie with such patience, Evelyn thought maybe some dreams were worth the risk. Every perfect moment carries tomorrow's problems. And some truths don't stay hidden forever. 3 weeks passed. What began as careful steps grew into something that felt both natural and impossible. Mornings at the cafe. Quiet dinners when they could. A life built in the space between two worlds. Alexandra had never felt happier. Which was why she didn't see the danger coming. It was Thursday night. She was working at home when her phone rang. The name on the screen made her stomach turn. Richard Blackwood. "Richard," she said. "It's late." "This isn't business," he said. "We need to talk." His voice made her sit up straight. "What is it?" "I think you should hear this from me before it becomes public. You've been seen. More than once. With a woman who works at your building's cafe. A woman with a child." Alexandra felt cold. "Who's saying this?" That doesn't matter. You know how it goes. You're visible. And people love stories. Stories about what? He paused. About you being involved with someone far outside your world. People will question your judgment. Your control. Her chest tightened. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Some people on your board are waiting for a reason to doubt you. This could be it. My personal life has nothing to do with my work. In your position, it always does. Perception becomes truth. It's not an affair, Alexandra said sharply. Maybe not. But it can still be used against you. Think about what you could lose. Your company. David's legacy. Everything. When the call ended, Alexandra sat alone, staring at the city. She thought of Evelyn, working late because she had no choice. She thought of Sophie, asleep and trusting her mother. And she thought of the choice forming in her heart. Company. Or love. The next morning, Alexandra arrived late. She looked calm, but her eyes told another story. Evelyn noticed right away. Everything okay? She asked. Fine, Alexandra said. But it wasn't true. Something was wrong. Alexandra, Evelyn said softly. What is it? For a moment, Alexandra let the mask slip. Fear showed. We need to talk, she said. Tonight. After your shift. At my place. Of course, Evelyn said. Should I bring Sophie? No, Alexandra said too quickly, then eased her voice. Not tonight. This is something we need to talk about alone. The rest of the day crawled by. Evelyn kept making small mistakes, her mind stuck on the heavy feeling in her chest. She had seen that look before, on her ex-husband's face right before life-changing news. By the time she reached Alexandra's building that evening, she told herself she could handle whatever was coming. She had survived divorce, raising a child alone, starting over from nothing. She was stronger than she looked. But when Alexandra opened the door, Evelyn understood that some kinds of strength still could not stop heartbreak. Come in, Alexandra said carefully. Do you want something to drink? Just tell me what's wrong. They sat in the living room, the city glowing outside like a reminder of everything that could be lost. Alexandra took a slow breath. Evelyn held herself still. People know about us, Alexandra said. People who matter in my world. People who can use it. Use it how? To question my judgment. My leadership. My right to run the company David and I built. Cold spread through Evelyn's stomach. Because I'm not good enough for you. That's not, Alexandra stopped. It's not about worth. It's about how my world works. Your world, Evelyn repeated. Not our world. You know it's more complicated. Is it? Because it sounds like you're ashamed of me. I'm not ashamed of you, Alexandra said sharply. I'm scared of losing everything I've worked for. Everything David died believing in. And I'm not part of that. Evelyn said quietly. Sophie and I? Alexandra didn't answer. Evelyn stood, shaky but steady in her voice. I understand. You have a legacy to protect. I was foolish to think this could last. Evelyn, please. It's okay. I knew it wouldn't be forever. I just forgot for a while that happy endings don't come for people like me. She walked to the door. Each step felt like letting go of something alive. Alexandra called her name, but Evelyn didn't turn back. Some bridges could not be rebuilt. Some dreams were too fragile for the real world. Sometimes being brave means admitting you were wrong. Sometimes it's the only way to save what matters most. A week later, Alexandra stood at her office window on the 45th floor, watching the city wake up. Every morning since Evelyn left, she came here instead of the cafe. She told herself it was simpler this way. Cleaner. But the empty ache in her chest said otherwise. Her assistant, Janet, came in without knocking, a habit earned over years of impossible schedules. "The board meets in an hour," she said, setting papers down. "Meridian Tower, quarterly reports," and she paused. Richard Blackwood called. He wants to talk about what he called recent developments. Alexandra's jaw tightened. She had expected this. The whispers. The doubts. The slow pulling apart of trust. "Tell Richard I'll see him after the meeting." Janet hesitated. "Are you okay? You've seemed different." Different. Alexandra felt like she was moving through someone else's life. "I'm fine," she said. "Just focused on work." But after Janet left, Alexandra wasn't thinking about contracts or numbers. She thought about Sophie's laugh. About the way Evelyn talked about her daughter's dreams. About quiet dinners and honest talks. About feeling seen for the first time in years. She thought about what she had given up to protect a company that now felt like a beautiful cage. The board meeting felt like a performance. 12 men and 2 women sat around a table worth more than most homes, speaking about millions as casually as lunch plans. Alexandra presented strong numbers, growth, success. "Impressive, as always," said Harrison Webb, her oldest critic. "Though there are concerns about recent distractions." There it is, she thought. What concerns, Harrison? Questions about focus. About judgment. About whether personal matters are getting in the way. Silence filled the room. Everyone knew what he meant. "I'm not aware of anything affecting my work," Alexandra said calmly. "Of course," Harrison said. "But perception matters. Confidence depends on stability. On appearances. Are you questioning my leadership? I'm asking whether you're in the right state of mind for this role. Maybe it's time to think about adding support." Support. The word sounded like a slow attempt to take everything from her, one polite sentence at a time. A polite way of taking her power, bit by bit, until she held the title but none of the control. Alexandra had seen it before. Power fading under the mask of support. "I understand," she said calmly. "And what would this support look like?" "A chief operating officer," Harrison said. "Someone to manage daily operations so you can focus on vision. Someone to watch her. Someone to report back. Someone to slowly replace her." Alexandra knew the game. She had used it herself once. "I'll think about it," she said, knowing that thinking was just another form of giving in. After the meeting, she stayed alone in the boardroom, staring at the skyline. She had survived today, barely. Tomorrow would be worse. And one day, they would push her out. Everything she and David built would belong to men who saw her as a problem to manage. Her phone buzzed. "Ms. Reed, should I wait for you this evening?" her driver texted. She looked at the screen, then replied, "No, Marcus. I'll walk." Her heart raced as she reached the cafe. Through the glass, she saw the busy counter. But behind it was not Evelyn. It was a young man she didn't know. She turned to the manager, "Carol. Where's Evelyn?" Carol's face closed. "She doesn't work here anymore. She gave notice last week." "Why?" "Personal reasons. That's all I can say." The world tilted. Evelyn was gone. Not just from her life, but from this place where something real had grown. Alexandra stepped outside into the cold. Her breath fogged the air. For the first time in her adult life, she had no plan. She had spent years building walls so high she forgot how to take them down. Watching strangers hurry past with real worries and real hopes, Alexandra understood what she had done wrong. She had protected the wrong thing. The company would survive. Another CEO would come. Numbers would rise and fall. Buildings would go up and come down. But love like that could not be replaced. And she had thrown it away for something that was never truly hers. She pulled out her phone. "Richard, it's Alexandra. I need a resignation letter. Effective today." Alexandra, what are you? I'm choosing what matters. For the first time in days, she could breathe. Now she just had to hope she wasn't too late. Some journeys aren't about distance. They're about the courage to stop running from what you need most. Alexandra had never been to Queens, which felt strange after 20 years in New York. As Marcus drove through unfamiliar streets, she saw how small her world had been. Just towers, cars, and private doors. Are you sure this is right? Marcus asked, stopping in front of a simple building. I'm sure, she said, though her heart was pounding. Wait for me. The lobby was small but clean. Mailboxes had names, not numbers. She found E. Parker, 3B, and pressed the buzzer. Yes? Evelyn's voice came through. Hearing it made Alexandra's chest tighten. It's Alexandra. Can we talk? Silence. Then, come up. The elevator was slow. Too slow. Alexandra had given up everything that morning. But now she wondered if big sacrifices could fix small, broken moments. Evelyn opened the door before she knocked. She looked tired, like the week had changed her. You shouldn't be here, Evelyn said. But she stepped aside. The apartment was just as Alexandra remembered. Small. Neat. Full of Sophie's drawings and books. But boxes sat in corners. Walls were bare. You're leaving, Alexandra said. Back to Ohio, Evelyn replied. My sister found me work. Sophie's father agreed. It's better. Better for who? Evelyn gave a sad laugh. For everyone. You keep your life. I start a new one somewhere that doesn't remind me of this. Alexandra swallowed. I quit. The words hung between them. Evelyn stared at her, searching for a trick, a lie, anything that would make it easier not to believe her. You what? I stepped down from Reed Developments this morning. Effective immediately. I signed my shares over to a charity that will fund education for single mothers. Evelyn sank onto the small couch, her face drained of color. Alexandra, what did you do? What I should have done sooner. I chose what matters. Your company matters. Your legacy. Everything you and David built. David has been gone 3 years, Alexandra said softly, sitting beside her. I've been hiding behind his memory instead of living my own life. He wouldn't want that. You don't know that. I do. Because he loved me enough to want me happy. Even if happy looked different than what we planned. Evelyn stared at her hands for a long time. You can't just throw away your whole life for me. For us. You threw away your whole life in Ohio for Sophie. You moved somewhere you knew no one. Worked 2 jobs. Lived in one tiny room. All because you believed she deserved better. How is this different? Because Sophie is my child. She's my responsibility. And you are my choice. My future. My chance at a life that means more than meetings and numbers. Evelyn looked up, eyes shining. What if it doesn't work? What if we're too different? Then we learn together. But I can't live wondering what if. I can't go back to an empty place and pretend power is enough after I've felt what real life feels like. Where's Sophie? Alexandra asked, noticing the quiet. At my neighbor's. I didn't want her to see me packing and asking questions I couldn't answer. Can I see her? Before you decide anything, can I see her? Evelyn hesitated, then nodded. She knocked across the hall. A moment later, Sophie appeared, smiling wide. Alexandra? Mama said you were busy with work stuff. I was, Alexandra said, kneeling down. But I learned that people's stuff is more important. Are you sad? You look a little sad. Your mama and I disagreed, and now she wants to move away. Sophie frowned. Mama always moves when she gets scared. We moved from Daddy's house, then Grandma's house. Now from here. Sophie, Evelyn said gently. It's okay, Mama. I know you get scared. But I like it here. I like my school. And Mrs. Chen. And I like Alexandra. She looked straight at Alexandra. Do you like us? More than anything. Then why can't we just stay together like a family? Alexandra looked at Evelyn, seeing fear and hope fighting in her eyes. Because it's complicated, sweetheart, Evelyn said. Grown-ups say that when they're making things harder than they need to be, Sophie said. Later, when Sophie went back next door, the apartment grew dark and quiet. I'm scared, Evelyn whispered. So am I. You don't understand. I've been poor. Hungry. Dependent. I can't go back to that. You won't. I still have enough to make sure you and Sophie are safe. I don't want to be kept. Then don't be. Build something. Learn something. Dream something. I just want to walk with you while you do. Silence stretched between them. Then Evelyn said, very softly, I love you. Alexandra felt the words fill places she didn't know were empty. I love you too. Both of you. This is crazy. The best things usually are. If we try, it has to be real. Not some story where you save me and I just accept it. It has to be equal. I wouldn't want anything else. And Sophie comes first. Always. And if it fails? Alexandra found her hand in the dark. Then we face that when it comes. But what if it works? What if we're brave enough to try? Outside, snow began to fall, soft and quiet. And in a small apartment in Queens, two women chose hope, and started building a future they never believed they could have. Some dreams, Alexandra realized, were worth risking everything for. Epilogue, 6 months later. The best love stories don't end with a wedding or a sunset. They end quietly, in the courage it takes to choose each other again and again in all the ordinary moments that make a life. The coffee shop in Brooklyn Heights was nothing like the sterile cafes in Alexandra's old office building. Mismatched chairs surrounded tables scarred from years of use. Local art covered brick walls. Morning sunlight streamed through windows that actually opened. It was the kind of place Alexandra would have walked past 6 months ago, and the kind she now couldn't imagine living without. Mama, can I have extra whipped cream? Sophie asked, bouncing in her chair, waiting for her hot chocolate. Just this once, Evelyn said, smiling at her daughter's excitement. It's a special day. It was a special day, the grand opening of Luna's, the coffee shop Evelyn had bought with Alexandra's support and her own determination. The name was Sophie's idea, inspired by the cafe in the village where Alexandra had first met them. Alexandra watched from behind the counter as Evelyn moved through the morning rush with effortless skill, her face glowing with the satisfaction of work that mattered. She had insisted on doing much of the renovation herself, learning to tile, paint, and wire electrical fixtures with the same determination she'd once applied to surviving 2 jobs and sleepless nights. You're staring again, Evelyn said, pausing beside Alexandra with a smile that made her heart skip. Can you blame me? You're beautiful when you're in your element. Flatterer, Evelyn said, cheeks flushing. How are the numbers looking? Alexandra glanced at the tablet where she'd been tracking morning sales. Better than projected. We might actually turn a profit this month. You mean you might, Evelyn teased. No, you were right the first time. It had taken months to find their rhythm, to learn how to be partners in business and life without losing themselves. Alexandra had struggled to step back, letting Evelyn make decisions without offering advice. Evelyn had struggled to accept help, believing Alexandra's support came without conditions. But slowly, sometimes painfully, they had learned how to build something that truly belonged to both of them. Alexandra, Sophie called. Come see what I drew. Alexandra walked over to find Sophie's latest masterpiece, 3 stick figures in front of a building labeled Luna's, holding hands, with an enormous sun above them. That's us, Sophie said. Our family. Family. The words still caught Alexandra off guard, the casual way Sophie included her in their small unit. But it felt right, natural, like it had always been true and was only now being acknowledged. "It's perfect," Alexandra said. "Can we hang it with the other pictures?" Sophie's drawings now had a place of honor near the register, bright splashes of childhood joy among the more sophisticated pieces. The morning rush gradually slowed, giving way to mid-morning calm. Regulars settled in with laptops and newspapers. Luna's had become a neighborhood living room, a community hub, not just a business. Alexandra was wiping down tables when she noticed a familiar figure outside. Richard Blackwood stood on the sidewalk, peering through the glass with an unreadable expression. "Evelyn," she called softly. "I'll be right back." Outside, the crisp autumn air hit her as she faced the man who had once been her lawyer and David's friend. "Alexandra," Richard said. He looked older, or maybe just tired. "I heard about your new venture. Good news travels fast. I also heard you're happy." The simple statement caught her off guard. "I am." David would be glad to know that. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the city wake around them. Finally, Richard spoke again. "I owe you an apology. What I said about your judgment, about Evelyn. I was wrong. You were protecting what you thought mattered. I was protecting what I was afraid to lose. There's a difference." He glanced inside at Evelyn, laughing at something Sophie had said. "She makes you different. Better. She makes me myself," Alexandra said softly. Richard nodded. "That's what love should do, isn't it? Make us more ourselves, not less." After he left, Alexandra lingered on the sidewalk a moment longer, watching her new life unfold. Evelyn was teaching Sophie to work the espresso machine, both of them covered in flour from the morning's baking. It was chaotic, imperfect, nothing like the controlled environment of her former life. It was everything she'd never known she wanted. "You coming back in?" Evelyn called through the open door. "Sophie wants to show you how to make latte art." "On my way," Alexandra replied, and she meant it in more ways than one. As she stepped back into Luna's, into the warmth, noise, and beautiful chaos of her chosen family, Alexandra realized some stories don't end with dramatic gestures or perfect moments. They end with the quiet decision to keep choosing love, to keep choosing courage, to keep choosing each other in all the ordinary and extraordinary moments that make life worth living. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, they don't end at all. They just keep beginning.